Welcome back. So Police Minister General Bheki Cele says more than 51,000 police officers will be deployed at voting stations across the country. He has identified KwaZulu-Natal and the North West as the high-risk provinces where possible protests could disrupt voting. The General now joins us from our Durban studios. Good to have you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to the entire viewership.
So yesterday, during your briefing, you identified high-risk areas, KwaZulu-Natal and the North West. Let's talk to contingency plans to deal with possible disruptions at voting stations.
Well, I didn't get the first portion of the question.
Just identifying. Let me repeat it for you, General. Just the two hotspots that have been mentioned, that of course being KwaZulu-Natal and the North West. Your plans on behalf of the police to deal with any possible disruptions? Yes,
again, good morning. We identified there are three kinds of risk, Leanne. There will be a low, a medium, and a high. Two provinces fall within the category of high, that is your Northwest and your KZN. Northwest, you remember that in a place called Bloemhof a few weeks ago, the Premier could not enter there. Not only that, which is a different case when people, they prevent the leadership, prevent the Premier to come, but his cars were assaulted, his cars were thrown stones at and were broken. We had to whisk him off the place. And 3-4 days ago at a place called Brits, I think 3 buses were burned there when Minister Ngubane was trying to deal with matters. The problem starts when people go beyond protesting and become violent and physical in dealing with matters. That makes the province a high risk. KZN, unfortunately, there are still political problems. You know that a young person has just been killed about 72 hours ago at Ward 7. But not only that, I'm sure it has not been picked by the media much that an IFP councillor was killed a week earlier at KwaMaphumulo. So people, they still physically die here, I think, for political affiliation. But besides, people are still blocked in this province to campaign because they are some part of some politics that happened at Scott only yesterday. But before that, at a place called Lindelani at KwaDukuza at Stenga, 4 people had to go to hospital during the campaigning, and there are areas that are known to be hotspot. Why is kind of a political party who can't go to hostels, especially main 2 hospitals, hostels, KwaMashu and Umlazi, are problematic. That's why then these provinces, because they still go physical, are identified as a high risk.
I mean, we look at KwaZulu-Natal, you telling us about the latest incident in Ward 7 in KZN and an ANC Youth League leader being gunned down, and which I believe came as a surprise because this is a relatively calm area, not really threatened by violence. But yet this has now, I mean, when we look at political killings, I mean, we're talking to about 132 killings in KwaZulu-Natal, politically motivated. And you have a special task team working there. What have they done since they've been there?
Well, we believe, Leanne, that situation would have been much worse if the president did not instruct for the establishment of this team that deals with the political killings. The team was established last July. I think it was on the 15th of July. It's almost 7 months up to this point. 163 people have been arrested, but most importantly, that 27 of those for the last 7 months have been sentenced by the court of law. Out of those 27, 5 are doing life sentence, and the rest are between 6 and 50 years inside. And the team works very well. It's quite a tough team. About 66 of those people are inside, having not received the bail, and others, I think 32, are out of on bail. We believe that if this team was not here and responding to this kind of killing, high-profile killing like Cindy Somakaka, everybody knows about that. Those people have been arrested, 4 of them are in court for that matter, and other killings like Mkunu in Maritzburg, like Zitole, the MM of Richmond. So while these things are happening, responding, it's sad that it's still happening, but we believe that much has been done, and one day we'll be able to deal with this matter once and for all.
This latest killing for the chairperson in the ANC Youth League branch, I think it was in Unchungweni, has there been an arrest? Any updates to report on this case?
Well, the case has been handed to the same team.
Okay.
I mentioned two cases. The other one is the IFP councillor that was killed, Kwamapumulo, I think a week earlier than the killing of the chair at Ward 7. And both of those cases have been handed over to the special political killing team.
Okay.
Up to this point, people are following leads, but nobody has been reprimanded up to this point. But we're very sure and we're very hopeful that the team will be giving us answers soon, as it has done with many other cases.
It's very worrying. I mean, when you're listening to these killings, even though there's an entirely dedicated unit to KZN and to the province and to these areas, and yet they still carry on. The SANDF, will they be deployed to KZN? Because I imagine that people are very scared for the 8th of May, particularly in the two provinces you highlighted, the North West and KZN. But KZN, where killings continue, the SANDF?
Well, the preparation for elections, Leanne, is for the cluster. As we were making the briefing yesterday, 3 ministers were there. Unfortunately, the defense minister was busy. She had apologized. So we pulled together all these. All these forces where it's necessary, and there are reasons for deploying any form of one part of this cluster. It does happen. For instance, in Vuane, we know that about 6 schools have refused to sign the lease with the IEC, so which means those schools can't be the voting site for the IEC. But the SANDF is going to put some tents there, and the SADF will take care of their property there. In Eastern Cape, I think 11 bridges are down. SANDF is being utilized there to work with those extreme conditions. If there is a necessity, which is not there at the present moment, Leanne, in KZN to deploy, we'll see if there is a necessity. We shall not hesitate, because it's a cluster rather than the police that is looking after the elections.
Okay.
Yes, but led by the police.
In terms of specialized courts, I believe that you're not setting up any specialized courts, so those that will hear electoral related issues immediately. Why have you decided against this? And if that is the answer, how are you going to deal with them so that this effectively is dealt with there and then? Well,
there are no specialized courts, but the cases, all election cases will be prioritized, and the police, the prosecution, and the Department of Justice have come together and they have agreed on that prioritization. It's just I think the difference of terminology, that they are specialized or prioritized. But there will be a space of dealing with these cases immediately as they happen. I'm sure in the not longest time after the elections or these crimes have been committed, we'll know the results when they've been tried by these courts as a prioritized cases.
General, you had said that violent protests or any disruptions on the day of the national elections will be dealt with harshly. Can you elaborate a little bit for us?
Well, harshly, I don't remember using the word harshly per se, Leanne. But as South African police, our job is simple, is to make sure that we prevent any form of violence, we investigate it and we combat it. But more than anything, as the Constitution will tell us, especially in Section 205 sub 3, is that we enforce the law. And enforcing the law, let me make this case. Police are not there to disrupt and prevent the lawful, peaceful protest and any political activities by the parties. So that's not the work of the South African police. But remember, as that is a constitutional right for those political groups and political parties, individuals have the rights too that must be protected when you begin to interfere with those individual constitutional rights. Then the police will come in on that one. Let's make what happened at eThekwini. We know that there are things that are happening in eThekwini, which is a labor-employer problem. People go march and do all that. But when you begin to block other people going to work, when you begin to destroy property, we act. That's why last night, police acted decisively by arresting almost 40 people. I think they're being processed, those people, and all that kind of thing. There where we come in. People with their peaceful protests, Constitution allows them, but Constitution allows other people to go on with their life. You interfere with that right, then the police come in.
Okay, I want to talk on other issues as well, and I think a big one that we need to address is what's happening in the Western Cape. The DA basically giving you 30 days now to respond to a letter that's written to you to say that there is a serious lack of police resources in the Western Cape. What are you doing about that? Let's get an update on this situation.
Well, I have tried to respond on other platforms on that one. It's just a sad situation, and that the Western Cape is one area where we're getting a lot of problems in terms of crime and in terms of murder. As you would know, that area leads in terms of murder. Somebody yesterday gave the wrong information that Gauteng still leads in crime. No, that has shifted now. It's in Western Cape. Instead of dealing with that, the MEC, which is a new MEC there, has really gone off rail in dealing with the crime and dealing with politics where matters are serious. One has been dealing with the previous MEC, the Dan Plato. Life has been really good. We have been sitting down, dealing with matters together and all. This one does not even come to the invited and events of the South African police. It talks about the under-resources. The most under-resourced province in South Africa is Northwest, is not Western Cape. Even telling something that is not true, simply called lies, like giving the wrong ratio of 1,000 is to 506. The ratio there is 1,000 is one police to 400, not 1 to 500. So it's telling lies.
Is that the Western Cape you're saying?
5 million. Yes.
General, the Western
Yes,
Cape,
Western
you're
Cape.
Denying what they said, because they said there is one officer to 509 people, whereas it actually should be sitting at 375.
Yes, I agree. Nationally, the United Nations ratio, Leanne, is 1 is to 220. In South Africa, ratio is 1 to 383. In Western Cape is 1 to 400, not 1 to 500. That's a lie. The West Province, as I've said, is Northern Cape. It comes and talks about 5 million that is offered for the reservist. We're simply saying that money would be better utilized if it improves the situation of policing there. There is something that we call dealing with the infrastructure of policing. If you go to Western Cape, it's worse when it comes to the roads there. It's worse when it comes to the lighting. It's worse when it comes to the cameras and all those things. Even this figure that this chap is giving, the report doesn't say that there is a shortage in Western Cape, Leanne. It says there is a shortage in the black areas in Western Cape, not in Western Cape, but they don't make that point. There is an adequacy in the previously advantaged white areas, and all these shortages is in the black areas in the Western Cape. That's why we're trying, according to the court, to shift internally, to shift these resources there, even before we bring the resources from outside. By the way, Western Cape, since one came here, is the most helped by creating special forces. We created there what is called Operation Thunder. We brought resources from outside. We created the anti-gang unit. We brought a lot of resources. We bought cars and everything. So even now, with the new intake, We have 5,000 police in the whole Republic of South Africa that are at the college. 1,200 comes from Western Cape alone, and the rest of the country has divided themselves between 4,000. So there is a lot of effort that is done there. For this guy, nothing but politics. That's why I've made a call to him to say, look, let's deal with the matters on the ground. The people are suffering there. Stop politicking around the serious issues
I know that
the
DA was saying that they've been trying to reach out to you since October 2018 and you have failed to respond to them, and that's why they had to go down this road, because they are desperate, and that's the reasoning that they're given. But you have addressed that. General, we need to just very quickly talk to members of the President's executive who have apparently been victims of a scam where people who say they are Hawks officers take money in exchange for putting out false information, such as a break-in in a minister's home, etc. Were these in fact people from the Hawks, and what action will be taken against them and the relevant ministers?
Funny part of it, Leanne, last night another deputy minister phoned me on this matter, and has been phoned by a certain guy, gave the name, this guy gave the name. We have checked, nobody exists within the Hawks of that name. So it's yesterday was a 10th minister or deputy minister that has been approached by these criminals. There are no Hawks that are doing that. I have explained it with the deputy minister, Wapela, of the issue. That is not the first one, I guess it's not the last one. But there was also a soccer boss that fell for the same fate. Fortunately, around that, we arrested some people, and it is a group of people that are running this scam around the ministers and high-profile people in South Africa. But we have issued this statement as the Hawks to say we don't announce the investigation, we don't go around noticing people that we're investigating. So if it's done that way, definitely is not Hawks.
All right, General, we've got to leave it there. Thanks so much for talking to us here on the program. That was General Bheki Cele. He's the Minister of Police, and talking to us about state readiness for the May 8th elections, as well as what's going on with an alleged scam towards different ministers, and the stories were in fact people from the Hawks, but not being that. And then, of course, what's happening in the Western Cape as well. The time is 8 o'clock. Let's get your news to you.